Um, so today it is, what day is it today?
Koivi's good.
Monday, 30th of April. And the week's getting started, and yeah, so after having done in some line work of the Mercedes, I can now clarify that I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. So here's some of the line work, some of the basic line work. And I really don't know how I'm going to use these lines. I probably am going to use them as like just a visual guide, but that's probably about it. I may use them for like cutting in specific areas. That's about it. But when I started like the hood, like honestly, I really have no idea what I'm doing with this workflow. I just know that using splines, people should use splines. I'm like, okay, I'll use splines, and I don't know why.
1 year later.
1 year later, I find out what I'm actually doing, you know. But really,
how are you going?
what I'm going to do is step away from my traditional modeling workflow. I mean, traditional modeling? No, I'm going to do a different methodology in modeling. But it's very similar to my Porsche 917. It's actually a methodology that's very similar to the one I did for the Porsche 917 a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, so the idea is to come up with a base shape and then cut in and out. But for this vehicle, I'm actually skeptical of if this methodology would actually work. I don't know how to explain it, but what I'm trying to do is, before I think about topology, my first focus is the surface. So in this image, I kind of outlined where the creases are in orange, and then in yellow I drew the surfaces, ignoring the cuts in the vehicle, so the hood cuts, some of the fender cuts, just trying to identify the surface in general. I know how I'm going to place in the orange lines in 3D. I can place those easily, just fine, using the blueprints as a visual guide as well. A lot of this is a visual guide, so this is not exactly accurate. This is more just trying to get a satisfactory surface. So in yellow, I have the lines cross this way, and then red, I have lines going in another direction. I didn't bother placing lines down across here or there because that's pretty generic. Yeah, you know what's going on there. But the real challenge is this headlight area. I'm just thinking how I can what would be the best approach on getting a satisfactory surface. And my plan is to come up with some high poly stuff and get a high poly base and then cut away at it. I'll pretty much record what I'll vlog what I'm doing later, and if that fails, then that fails, and I'm like, oh, GG. But yeah, I really have no idea what I'm doing. So this is not topology drawing. This is actually not going to be me placing the topology. This is probably not going to be my exact topology. This is just me figuring out probably the topology for the base surface, and then yeah, later. So I also drew out the same stuff, same part on a different angle. Just thinking about how I can draw that out. Then I looked at this one's pretty basic. I mean, it's just a flat, straight stroke of a surface with some concaves and convexes in the wide out and going in across, going vertically. That was pretty straightforward. And the rear is also pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just a slanted slope with some interesting cuts, but you know what? I am using splines, and I'm probably not going to loft the surfaces. Rather, instead I would do something like go into side view go into side view. I'm working on my other screen right now. I would create a plane and just kind of have each vertex sliding along each curve. Yeah, something like. Glitches and shit. There we go. Something like that. Something like that. And then so on. So, I mean, like, so I guess in 3D, first of all, I'm going to place in the orange lines. The orange lines are going to be my first focus. And then I'll think about how I can manually loft. Now, I specifically say manually loft because lofting curves in Maya is kind of shit. You know, I have to go in and rebuild it, and I just feel like I'd have an easier time tweaking edges and stuff.
Why don't you use Fusion 360?
Yes. And I really don't want to tweak vertices. If anything, tweaking vertices is the last thing I should be doing. The goal is to first have a solid base and then cut away at that solid base. Kind of like clay sculpting, actually. With clay sculpting, they'll have the whole surface and then they'll cut away at it and so on. I'm tired, I got nothing else to talk about. But if any of you guys have an idea of how to approach this instead of just relying on just moving vertices in thin air, like, I'm so glad to hear your ideas or whatever you think the best approach would be to modeling a vehicle like this. And the workflow I'm testing now, like just check out how I did the Porsche 917. And because I'm using that same technique for this technique here, and I just really want to see how far this new technique that I've learned has gone, because I don't know, I feel like I'm scratching the surface of something really. Oh well, I'll just go about having no idea what I'm doing and just doing stuff. Really, this is just gonna be experimenting. Really? Anyway, so thanks for watching. 고맙습니다. And 자자요. 자자요.